Dick Lippin of the Lippin Group. You founded your company how many years ago?
1986.
So it's been a couple of, wow.
Yeah, 1986.
Fabulous. That was right around the time I was doing a concert with the UN called Rock for the Americas at ABC in Los Angeles.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things have changed over the years.
They
and
have.
all these years of doing, how many years has it been now for NATPE for you?
25.
25 years.
So it's the 50th anniversary
Yes.
of NATPE. It's the 25th anniversary of our representing NATPE, and it's been a really great ride. I mean, we've seen the last 25 years a change in the business that's
Absolutely.
been so dramatic,
Where would you consider you have the most fun, if that's even a fair question?
I have the most fun with the people that I deal with, okay?
Good
I never dreamed, in all honesty. I was born in Brooklyn, okay, and I thought, what was I going to do with my life, right? And to see where things are today, what I've been exposed to over all these years, and things that people read about every day, and they say, it's talent from television and film and music and all kinds of things, and it's events and it's shows, and I never dreamed I would do any of that.
Right.
But the greatest dynamic for me is the people, and it's not just about the people. It's about it's about going into meetings and intellectually and creatively getting really excited about it stuff, and planning the strategy, like knowing the way the industry operates and knowing sort of the mindset of our business and knowing what the consumer wants, what the public wants. The opportunity to work with the kinds of people that I worked with for so long now, and get really turned on and get charged by it all, is really probably the single most fun I have in the industry, and I have in the business. And I've always said, people say, well, how long are you going to do this for? I said, I'll do it until the time comes when I just don't feel energized anymore, when I don't feel excited about it, when I don't feel like it's challenging for me anymore. So far it is, and I think the reason it is because the nature of our business is constantly changing.
Truly is.
It really
and if
is.
you're not changing with it, you're left behind.
No, because even 5 years ago, people said, "Oh, the independent, the role of the independent is no longer going to be as a part of this industry." Well, if anything, the role of the independent today is greater than it's been for a very long time. Why? Because one, I was thinking about it the other night. I said when John Malone said, "We are going to have a 500-channel universe," everybody said, 500 channels?
Right.
What would you put on 500 channels? That's unbelievable. How could you have 500? And now, 500 channels.
5,000 channels.
500,000 channels,
Exactly.
with the internet and with mobile delivery. So what you find is that you have enormous expansion and distribution across all the platforms.
Right.
And then you have the need for content to fill it. So where the independents were thought of as not necessarily going to have a real great future, now they have a terrific future creatively because there's such a great need and demand for content. So that's exciting. When you take a look at what's transformed the world in terms of digital, its application in this industry has been remarkable. Why?
Truly.
YouTube, Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, Apple, one after another is entering the business. First as a distribution channel, right, and now as acquirers of program.
Like Netflix wants to get content now.
And original programming, which Netflix is doing and YouTube is doing.
I even heard that from DirecTV yesterday when I talked to someone here at the convention, that they now will go to independent people and acquire direct products and put them up on different channels.
That's exactly right. So what really is great about what is happening now is that for people who are creative, there's a world of opportunity for them. For those people who just did short films for YouTube, now they have an opportunity to create long-form films, or they have an opportunity to use their skills and find that there are a lot more opportunities to make it a career. Not just a 30-second video on YouTube, they can make it actually a career. So that's great. The economic side of it is as exciting because now the demand for product and for content is so great that the prices that are being paid to people, the creators of that content, are now really pretty strong. And there's tremendous competition to get the good product on to that distribution. So when I look at what NATPE is, when we're this conference in Miami, there's one thing that really does ring a lot truer than it has for a long time. Part of the problem between technology and entertainment is, in a strange way, they were speaking different languages. Right. Technology believed it could stand on its own and create its own destiny. Entertainment wasn't quite sure what to make of technology. In some respects, thought, especially in terms of the areas of piracy and stuff like that, that was like a dangerous area. The greatest thing that's starting to happen is that they're starting to talk to each other and listen to each other. Okay?
Absolutely are.
And they're starting to realize that it's in their mutual best interest to get to know each other better. Okay? So that's what you're starting to see more of, because technology can't create what creators of content can do, and creators of content can't create technological delivery systems the way that technology companies do. So they're starting to get together much closer, and I think by doing that, they're going to both fare out a lot better in the long run.
Well, and clearly, broadcasters weren't thinking 20 years ago. I would dare say even a lot of them 15 years ago. I've got to figure out how I can scale my content to go to someone's cell phone.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
today, that's a real broadcast issue, because there's a big audience out there watching stuff on their handhelds.
No question, and you know, it's interesting, that's a very good point, because where it really starts is in development. And today the difference is that if you're, and I tell this to clients all the time, when you sit down and you get excited about a creative idea, a story,
Right.
you have to then say to yourself next, okay, where will my story go?
Exactly.
Okay? And in what way is it delivered? What are the formats? So when you're thinking about developing content, you should be thinking domestic and international.
Truly.
You should be thinking, if it's television, then what about you know, the internet and mobile? What about mobisodes and webisodes, and how do you shorten those things in order to meet the formats of this new delivery systems? So the story will always dominate. The story will always dominate, but the ability to take the story and then to mold it in ways that are suitable for other mechanisms of delivery, especially the new digital delivery systems, is really a great opportunity, because with that comes revenue, with that becomes money. So you're not dependent only on one source. You know, just like, you know, with films. Back in the days when films started happening, it was the box office. Well, no, it's not. No, it's not the box office anymore. It's the box office, and it's pay-per-view and VOD and
DVDs, yeah.
and then, you know, almost every other form of delivery, soundtrack albums.
Right.
So you start to think this.
And don't forget the merchandising.
And the merchandising, licensing, and
Ancillary rights.
all of that.
Yes.
So if you're looking at these projects and you say to yourself, okay, I got a great idea, then the next thing should be, okay, how does my idea travel across these various platforms, and what's the way in which I can maximize my return on the creativity and the time of development and production and all of those things? So
Is that an area where a company like yours is going to become more integrated?
we get involved with that, yeah.
Okay.
You know, and a lot of it relates to visibility. I mean, you know, when you look at the SEO situation, you know, it's hits, and it's also visibility that creates interest. in all those
Ranking
things.
on the search engines, et
So it's a
cetera.
marketing approach to creating a higher level of awareness for a brand, a higher level of visibility, and then a higher level of acceptance on the part of people wanting to interact with what it is, that site, wherever it may be. So all of that comes together. And then the final thing that people have to understand is that in order to truly understand where the digital world is going,
Right.
it's not a bad idea to understand where the industry has been, you know? So,
Very good point.
So looking at the past as a indicator of what went right and what went wrong, and how do you apply the history of television, the history of radio, to what's happening in the digital world, is extraordinarily valuable. And I guess, you know, as I've done it for a while now, and I've had this opportunity to sort of see, you know, the radio, television thing, and then now see the digital world, I start to really understand that in order to totally understand where you go in the future in terms of your opportunity, you should spend a little time thinking about the past and where people have been, and what are the ones that turned out successfully, and what are the ones that failed, and apply the ones that turned out successfully to how you want to modify, you know, your approach to a new digital age.
As we increase the speed of entertainment and technology, how does that impact what you have to do and what broadcasters or entertainment providers are going to have to be forward-thinking on?
Well, you know, I've always tried to make it simple. You know, to me, there are three component parts to our business. There's the content,
Right.
and there's good content, and there's
Yes.
bad content, okay?
And unfortunately, both sell sometimes too.
Sometimes they both sell, but more times than not, unfortunately, good
Exactly.
content rules over the longer term.
Absolutely does.
The second part is distribution, okay? And it doesn't matter whether it's a television set or a theater screen or a DVD player, okay, or the internet or a mobile phone. It's just a mechanism for distribution.
Exactly.
It carries that content to its intended people. The third part is really the critical part, and that is, in a world of all of these channels and all of these networks, how do you get people to go to where your content is as opposed to everyone else? So I think the greatest challenge that's occurring now is, okay, we got the content, it's really good, we got a mechanism for distribution, but when people have all of these choices about where they can go,
Right.
both in traditional forms of distribution, television, stuff like that, and in terms of the internet and mobile, how do you get them there?
Right.
Not only how do you get them there, how do you keep them there?
Keep 'em there,
So the
right.
most material change for us has been the sophistication that goes into how do you target those audiences clearly. So that's why
Right.
when people say Facebook, or they say, or they say YouTube, it's not really relevant. Facebook's a big world, okay? But in that world is what the key is. Within that world, it may be just 100,000 people or 1 million people that you have to reach. Well, how do you target it using social media? Too many people think of social media, 800 million, 1 billion users on Facebook. That's not really what it's about.
No.
It's about target marketing. And I think that increasingly, that is going to be a key to the success of content, the success of distribution systems, and ultimately, getting the kind of ratings or the kind of audience that you really need.
As you are looking down the road as a visionary, where do you see the next 5 or 10 years taking this show and the output of the show?
I think NATPE is going to grow. Miami's great. Miami's been a great thing for
Good
them.
hub.
Great place. But you know what the most interesting thing about Miami was? It's this venue is conducive to interaction, people to people.
Right.
Okay. You see them in the hallways, you see them in the lobby, you see them outside. That connection is singularly, I think, one of the most important things. When you're in other cities that require you to take a cab here, and people in all different kinds of hotels and whatever, you don't get that dynamic. So one is, I think, that NATPE's going to grow because the word of mouth is going to be really strong coming out of this, as it was last year out of Miami.
Yes.
And more people did come. Highest level of buyers we've had, attendances, good levels, everything. Then I think NATPE will grow from a continued growth within the digital world, okay, which we're expanding into more and more with new people and new ideas. And then it probably will come from some growth that might come from looking at other opportunities that are out there of seminar programs, other organizations that make sense that NATPE can be aligned with. And that's where I think the growth is going to come from.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Great to see you again.
Great to
Thank
see you
you.
as well. It's a pleasure.